think the honorable thing for our species to do is deny our programming. Stop reproducing. Walk hand in hand into extinction. One last midnight, brothers and sisters opting out of a raw deal.
Do not trust any friends or family members. I repeat, do not trust friends.
There's two very special anniversaries that are occurring this week. One happened yesterday. Do you know what yesterday was?
I don't know.
No.
60th anniversary of the Kennedy assassination. Happened yesterday.
Oh, Machina.
Mm-hmm.
Did they solve it?
Oh, Oswald did it, man. Fuck. Case
You've
closed.
You've been listening to the Higher Side chats? Little plug for their podcast there.
I was listening to an interview with the guy who wrote that Case Closed book, like the sort of definitive Oswald did it 1,500 page account, heavy footnotes, etc. Yeah, he was just like, yeah, it's weird. Everybody gets so mad at me because I just think Oswald did it. And he was pissed off. Well, he wasn't pissed. Actually, he's very even keel. He didn't talk in any way like I just imitated. But basically the book emerged as a response to fucking Oliver Stone's travesty. Did you guys ever? I know Chris or James, you and I I don't know how far you got in JFK. Did you ever watch that, Chris?
No, I
didn't either.
I have a real hard time with Oliver Stone. You'd have to force me to watch one of his movies.
Yeah.
Actually, it's funny. We had a family dinner at my dad's the other night, and he was flipping through my Apple movies, and he was like, JFK, let's put that on. I was like,
oh yeah,
casual.
Dude, get the fuck out of here. Is this some kind of Costner thing?
I just want to say that movie is supremely weird and actually worth watching. It is ultimately like a psychosexual, like it's a concern about gays. It's very, and Kevin Costner's like just really pushing this idea that like basically a bunch of queers killed Kennedy, and they're like, in collaboration, and they're like dressed up in like glittery gold paint and all these flashbacks and stuff, and it's Joe Pesci's one of them, and they're just like these decadent gays that haunt the imagination of Kevin Costner's character, who is like the attorney.
Does it know that it's doing that? Like, is it?
I don't think so. I don't think so at all. And furthermore, the only time that Kevin Costner's can get aroused, like the time that he like basically fucks his wife after a lot of her like sort of doubting him, is like she believes him all of a sudden, and then they just start fucking, like it's just like it just unlike like this fear of the gay menace just like brings him together with his wife, and like I don't think the movie
me a little bit on this. All right, that's interesting.
Oh, that's fucking. You know what? Based on the title of the film and the directors and actors, I would not think that it would go that way.
Yeah, well, neither did I, but it's I was very like sort of surprised and pleased with the whole thing. Like it is a very weird drama, but it's also toxic in the sense that it warped an entire fucking nation and contributed strongly to the conspiracy culture of today.
Wow, it's a good check-in.
Yeah, so thanks for that, Kennedy. And then the other thing is today, and today is the 60th anniversary of Doctor Who.
Congratulations!
Yeah, and old Doc finally returns on the 25th. I actually got myself a Disney Plus, just so I could watch new Doctor Who. So way to go, score one for Disney.
Disney fucking got you, sucker.
Yep.
That's good. Are you watching Doctor Who too? When's that starting?
On the 25th. They're going to do 3 specials, and then Gatwi is going to come in as the 15th Doctor or whatever. And it's Russell T Davies. It's going to be awesome. It's not going to be to the heights of Stephen Moffat awesome, but it's going to be good. Don't want to hype it up too much, but I feel like my Doctor is back, and thank Christ it's been so long. And not because David Tennant, I don't care about David Tennant. I'm not really keen on Donna and David Tennant coming back. That can actually kind of fuck off a little bit, but I'll accept it because they need to sell it They got to sell the new guy. So they bring in classic Coca-Cola to introduce the new Coke. And
That's
I understand.
fine. Like, he could have done that with Matt Smith too, but he's a big dog now. He doesn't have time for this shit.
Yeah, I think it would also be a little weird to bring back Frodo or Odo or whatever. Not Frodo. Yeah. So those are the things I'm excited about it.
Nice. I'm a big fan of the Doctor no one likes that got shortchanged this season. From the new era. No, the grimy British guy.
Capaldi, and he didn't get a bad shake.
No. Before David Tennant.
Christopher Eccleston.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, he got a bad.
Yeah,
he was awesome.
Yeah, I know. I don't know what people's problem is with this guy. Maybe he's a little ugly. Really? Traditionally not handsome. I'm not sure. I feel like I'm insulting him now. I don't know.
I thought that was like the good one. That's the one that convinced me to finally watch some Doctor Who. And it was a good season.
He's the breakout of the new era, right?
Yeah.
It was a good first season. Even with the farting aliens, it came off really well. And it won me over too. Anyway, that's how you do a reboot, man. So we'll see if Russell T Davies can do it again. Do it again, brother.
That Hulk Hogan reference?
No, that's shit. That's an MMA reference. Let's do it again, brother. Fuck. Man, I'm gonna have to. I'll look. I'm not gonna try to remember because it'll just mean me. It was from Pride. It was
probably riffed off Hulk Hogan.
Yeah, it wasn't Dan Severn. It was the other guy. The other Dan Severn.
The mustache guy?
Yes.
Oh, I know him. The super masculine guy.
Yeah, exactly.
Why can't we remember his name?
Yeah. Anyway, he lost a fight, but let's do it again, brother. So, we were supposed to do, and we still will.
Don
Fry. That's right. Thank you. The super masculine one. Oh, jeez. Okay. We were supposed to do some Garth Ennis, and for complex reasons involving illness all around. Well, maybe not you, Chris. Are you sick, Chris?
Fuck you. I'm perfectly healthy.
He's perfectly healthy. You just can't turn on a dime, man.
Yeah.
I understand.
It was a fat ass book, and I gotta say the Kitchen Irish is. I'm gonna set the tone right now. It dragged.
Okay, well, we're not going to be talking. We're not going to be talking about the Ennis though. But
okay, yeah. Well, anyway.
So we'll get to that later. But in order to sort of salvage this, and so we had some material for our gentle listeners, it's all Punisher all the time. I don't know what.
Yeah.
I'm starting to develop a real problem in my Punisher consumption. I'm going to start shooting people. I think it's going to happen.
I think we should just turn this podcast into a Punisher podcast 24/7.
Oh, yeah. And just do what?
You should just do 2 Punisher podcasts.
I would love that. I'd get the whole thing done. So, Mike Barron, we're going to go back in time. Here on the Extinction Agenda with James.
And Chris.
We're going to go back in time to some early Punisher comics. It's probably not going to be a very long episode. Although maybe not. There's plenty of weirdness to fucking talk about.
That's true. We're going back to 1988. Gloves were off.
Yeah. Actually, you know what? One thing I like about these stories is the gloves aren't actually off. Like, there is sort of a tameness to it that the later Punisher comics, once the editor, Carl Potts, departs and Don Daly steps in, things take a dark turn.
I was thinking that too.
Yeah.
You guys felt like this was muted?
Yeah, definitely.
Well, it was high weirdness, but we'll get into it. Like, there's lots of violence and fighting or whatever, but it's not like if you compare this Punisher to the Punisher that we saw in Garth Ennis's run, like this one's not a mass murderer. This one's more like Tom Selleck.
It's not nihilistic. Like,
this Punisher has some fucking skills that I'm not used to, that I'm very keen to get in on here.
Yeah.
This is, I was thinking that this is the Punisher that I would have, like, when I've been confused in the past about, Punisher wouldn't do this. This is the Punisher I remember. This was like my era, like, of like buying these comics when I was like 9 or 10. This kind of more I don't know, confused and humane Punisher slightly.
Yeah. So we didn't say the issues. It's Punisher Volume 2, issues 10 and 11, August to September of 1990 or 1988. First one's called The Creep, and the second one's called Second Sight. So I'd read these comics already, and I was going to cover them on the War Journal, and I'll probably cross post this when the time comes. But they've just been sort of sitting in my mind. Like I haven't recorded anything on them. And so like I feel like I've lived with these things for a while. You've just encountered them for the first time. Your first taste of Mike Baron potentially. So as an adult anyway. But what do you guys think?
Oh, I love it. How long did Wills last on this, if you know?
He quite a while. So keep going. I'll figure out the answer in a second.
Well, anyway, this is great. And I feel like a lot of it always has to do with Scott Williams is on the table again. He makes Wils's art look better. Sorry, Wills. It's not you. It's Scott. But yeah, and also like I feel like this is Wills feels you know how guys get in their way when they get older. Like Todd McFarlane was guilty of that when he got rich, just got in the way of himself and his art just slipped. Right. You know, businessman. Same thing happened with Rob Liefeld. Same thing happens with everybody. I feel like.
Yeah.
You just or maybe just get old. I don't know. But like this is more restrained, and it seems like directed by the writer because the panels flow real nice and it's very un-Wills. Like
I see what you're saying.
Like I get my Wills art, but then it's also like the panels are directed and controlled by the writer, and you can tell that Wills is on board with it, which makes this a nice package actually. I'm just on the art front, but
no, I mean I think it's the total package, but that's a good point, because like there is even though like it's still, some of these pages are still a little like the title page, like The Creep or whatever, like it's really busy. It's really busy in that Wills Portacio way, but yeah, for the most part, I think you're right. Good observation. So the answer to your question is he lasted from issue 8 to issue 20. So pretty long run.
Good little run for him. Yeah. Also, I'm a big fan of, I don't know about you guys, I'm a big fan of Frank's inner dialogue always. No matter what era.
Personnel. War Journal. How do you feel about it, Chris? Not the dialogue or the dialogue, whatever.
All of it. I like this in a weird, like sort of complicated way. I don't totally know what to feel about it. Like I'd like a larger sample of it to see if it's all kind of like this. But this feels like a kind of Law and Order punishment, like ripping from headlines from the day. You know, like there was that like the reason we have those safety seals on Tylenol and things like that is because there was the poisoning just like in those bottles in New York City in this first issue. And then the second one, it starts off with I guess like people trying to sneak across the border but being left to die, like just sort of like of starvation and dehydration. And like there seems to be this real sort of, I don't know, this is why I want to read more issues, because I'm not sure if I'm reading into it, but I feel like I understand that Mike Baron has sort of a Catholic thing to him, right? Like he is pretty devoutly Catholic or something like that.
Oh, I don't know the answer to that. If he is devoutly Catholic, he doesn't like really. Cause I've listened to a lot of interviews with him recently, and like he's not talking about Jesus, but maybe he's feeling it. You know, like I haven't got that sense yet. I'll say that.
Well, the reason I bring that up is just that it feels like there's this sort of, I don't know how exactly to say it, but like a guilt about the way that Frank goes about his business that restrains, like we were saying in the intro, it's not full nihilism yet. Like it takes a Chuck Dixon to bring it to that point. It takes like Don Daly to take it to that point. There's sort of like this kind of Punisher is like, he's a bit of a schlub. He's a bit like he's there to kind of get tooled a little bit, like at least in these issues.
Yeah. I think it's and one of the things I'm going to be exploring in the War Journal is precisely, and I think I have identified it as the introduction of Don Daly. Like even Mike Barron's books get like a little turned up to 11, and Carl Potts is the restraint here, because he feels that the Punisher's kind of like like the Punisher's cool or whatever, and the reason everybody because the reason that the Punisher is popular is because of Carl Potts. He's the guy that brought the Punisher back and shepherded him, to sort of stardom and put him on, as a franchise. But he felt that the Punisher ought to be like a lesson, like that you're not supposed to learn. You don't look to the Punisher because you think he's cool, then you want to emulate him. Like there's a sadness to him, there's a patheticness to him.
Okay. You're feeling that here for sure.
Yeah. But then once Carl leaves, like Carl in interviews is like, I don't like what they did with the character after that. Like they started lionizing the character and he's just very, very against it.
This one's like this Punisher too, like you can tell by the uniform that it kind of it falls in with what you're saying too, because he's like, they're looking, he's a little bit, I don't know, like you say, he's a little cleaner, a little more.
He's wearing dinner gloves.
A little bit more of a clean cut product, yeah. Snow White boots. He's like a SHIELD agent, kind of almost.
Yes, yeah. He's dressed like a SHIELD agent, essentially, with a skull.
He is acting like a SHIELD agent too. He fronts as an FBI.
Oh my goodness, he's a master of disguise.
Yeah, he's like fucking Clark Kent. I didn't even know that was him sitting there. I had to rip back a couple pages and go, what the fuck's Frank doing here? He's so handsome, he can just fucking. He's not like a big grizzled monster. He's just this like handsome black-haired Joe Blow. He's your fucking plumber. You never know. Yeah. He's gonna come out of the fucking woodwork.
Put out some glasses and totally change his look. I like. I never remember that Frank is Italian, but like this Frank looks Italian. Like I feel it. I feel it strongly here.
Right. Yeah. I'll buy it. Frank Castiglione.
Nice.
Yeah. So what? Okay.
What do you guys think about the? Wait, I was gonna say, what do you think about the Creep? Really enjoyed the Creep myself. I like that they open up with a mystery, but there's no fucking mystery. Boom, just rock hard introduce the Creep in his fucking undies with a Bowie knife, just pumping iron in his apartment. He's like, yeah, I'm the poisoner. No fucking mystery to be had. Wait, what? Oh, okay. That's how we're gonna do this. Like, that's fine.
He's mostly in his undies for the whole thing.
Why does he want to poison people again? I forget. The corporation.
That's not really. Yeah, he doesn't like that He wants to bankrupt that corporation. Motives unknown.
Yeah. I love that he's so fucking jacked too. Like it doesn't play into anything. Like it doesn't make any sense. But he's like just Mr. Universe.
Yeah.
But a poisoner.
And like and he fucked his neighbor or whatever, and like she's really into him, even though he's like this roid case.
Yeah, and he has like Jake the Snake hair. Like, why is she sleeping with this guy?
But just because we had dinner doesn't give you the right to barge in here and tell like that's code. Just because we had dinner. Yeah, I'm busy. I'll talk to you.
Where'd she even bang him in that apartment? Like.
Oh yeah, because it's what is that apartment? It's basically floorboards, weights.
Oh, he's got a bed there.
No, he just held her up the whole time.
Couple empty. Oh, gross.
Oh God. Just a nice lady too,
Yeah.
Not so nice. One thing I like about Wills is like, I'm looking at this woman and like she like. In one panel, she looks like B. Arthur. Like another, she looks is a completely different character from moment to moment. The only thing that's eternal is the creep.
She's like this, like a horrific, like overweight '80s mom, and then she's sort of hot in the next panel.
Yeah,
that's like the second comic. The same thing with Maria. Like sometimes she looks 50, and then
Wills can't draw women, and like he can draw like the sort of like the spirit of their sexy body, and that's about it, you know.
Mm-hmm.
He's real comfortable with Clark Kent here.
Yeah, he has an eye for the manly form.
There's also the fucking like. I like how Frank, when he's in his like laboratory, like ruling out fucking suspects, he's like, immediately I rule out all the women. Aren't women notoriously poisoners?
True.
Yeah.
Isn't that actually like a statistical thing?
Yeah, it might be. Either way, why are you eliminating 50%? Yeah. I thought it was telling though. Because I wrote that down too, and I was just like, I don't know. I don't know what it's telling other than, you know, there's a sexism at work here.
Speaking of sexism at work, that the opening lines, some creep's got a mad on for the Zumatin Corporation. I've got a mad on for the creep. Jesus Christ. Did not need to get
now we're
Frank.
talking. Frank's ready. He's on his little fucking IBM computer, rock hard.
Yeah. Dealing with a psychopath, cold personality, cancer loose in society's belly. Here is my scalpel.
Which is like total, like such common like fascist speak, like the metaphor of cancer and like needing to cut it out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
There's only one way to deal with this creep. I turn in. Waiting makes me sleepy. He's fucking laying down in his full costume with a fucking.
He's holding his gun.
With his fucking whatever that is. Is that one of those? That's like one of those guns from Vietnam too, right?
Yeah. It's kind of like this pinup pose too, like, you know, like. Kind of like laying there spread out.
Yeah, this is very homoerotic.
Yeah, totally.
Oh yeah, putting them side by side. I think it's a Colt. Punisher tends to use carry a Colt, but it's difficult to tell with Will Spartacio's portrayal here. Could be a 45, but anyway.
There's also very sleepy Frank. Like in the second one, he just kind of falls asleep randomly too. Trust my eternal clock. Need to set an alarm next time.
Well, he's human, you know. He needs to rest.
Yeah.
Long day of just watching the TV and looking at maps and hitting the IBM.
Fondling his gun. That's not.
Yeah.
I didn't mean.
And then enter Plumber Frank.
That's right.
Oh yeah. Well, okay. So why do we? No, before we even get Plumber Frank though, we've got like Frank going to the Why does he go to the Jehovah's Witnesses? To like if I'm looking for a creep, you know, like
well, no, you heard on the grapevine somewhere that like I think it was that like they had dealt with somebody who was like violent or so because they go door to door, to provide like, you know, who's the most likely jerk. It doesn't make a lot of sense, but that is
but I guess that's one way you do it. Like
Frank beats the pavement in his own way, you know.
He does. This is pre-microchip. I actually no, it's not pre-microchip. This is the microchip era, but for whatever reason, micro's not involved here. So I don't know. I haven't really got this far yet. I think after Microchip's son dies, maybe he stops helping Frank for a little bit, but then comes back as his hetero life mate, something like that. Anyway, I just thought it was weird, just going to the Jehovah's Witnesses, and they're like, well, federal agent, not a problem. Let me just help you with your surveillance.
Yeah, can we talk about the height, weight of this particular Punisher also? Like, I mean, actually, it's funny. I read in the back of Garth's book that when the artist and Garth were schlubbing around, they were looking at, 6'3", 240 or 235. This guy's much bigger than that.
Oh, our Punisher? Well,
the one in this book, this guy's 6'6", 260 probably. Look at this girl in the elevator with Plumber Frank. Plumber Frank sized the door.
I'm taking a look.
This could be.
Oh my goodness! Yeah, you're right. He's like Frankenstein.
Yeah, it is. Like...
I do think. Yeah, look at him. He's about to hit his head. He looks monstrous. Yeah. She should be shitting her pants. Like it's like something out of David Lynch.
She's like, come on, can you take a look at my sink too? Can we talk about the portrayal of women in this also while we're at it?
Absolutely.
Sure. Well, we're gonna have to. Yeah.
She's also got the fucking like basically what do you call it, like Stockholm syndrome too, because she slept with the creep. She's like, you're wrong. So he like defends him to the death.
That's true.
I don't believe you're a federal agent. Well,
She's got
Uzi in
issues
the
too.
skull. Yeah, she has like.
I want to taste this new mouthwash. Like what?
What are you doing? And why are you coming onto this guy and then preventing him from killing the guy across the hall anyway?
Do you think she's coming on to Frank?
Did feel that way at first.
Yeah, I don't think so. It was a crime
She
of
called the
opportunity.
guy. She called the guy across the street a creep.
Honestly, he's such a creep. Yeah, well, she's just into it, right? I've been fighting with the landlord for 2 years over the darn sink. Honestly, he's such a creep. No, that the landlord's a creep.
Yeah, then he just saved her life, and then she attacks him.
That's love, you know? Yeah. Alfred's help. Yeah, she's just obsessed. Who knows, right?
She gave all the flags she needed to get pistol whipped early on. He should have done it.
Well, he's soft on women. This 6'6" Frankenstein creature.
No, he's not. He elbows her in the face and then continues to beat the shit out of the creep.
Oh yeah, this is when he appears to actually be kind of tiny. Not tiny, but like regular sized. When all of a sudden he has to like sidekick a gun out of the creep's hand.
Yeah, I think there's just some perspective problems in the art here.
The creeps fucking like overall design really works for me.
You like the
I just
flowing
like his
mullet?
Like, yeah, and he's got like a ripping like Adidas shoes, and then he's got like the biker gloves, the elbow pads, and the jeans tank top. Like, it's fucking good.
And you know what's weird? They never brought him back.
They should have.
Because this is like, he's one of the few individuals that the Punisher has not killed. And the creep should be back.
He was fucking about to get it. Frank like picks him up like the fucking Ultimate Warrior. He's like, yeah, you got the right to go fucking splat on the pavement. What? What an animal.
You have the right to bleed into the gutter.
Jesus.
Throws a lot of kicks. Like, this is oh, Jesus Christ. I'm looking at how easily he picks him up, and he's so pissed off. He's
pissed. He's like going to be... Then Daredevil. Why did he hold him up there, too? He should have pitched him off the ledge, then fought Daredevil.
Well, yeah, force Daredevil to catch him or something, and then...
Get lost. Daredevil, he's mine.
And so, like, your classic... Then we get back to the Zardsky situation, you know, like, who's using who here?
I have an arguing point on that. I do feel like the Punisher was treated with respect. And I feel like also Daredevil's the fact that Daredevil's actually a superpowered being was sort of brought to light. Like immediately he hits him in the shoulder and like dismantles his arm with a nerve cluster. And Frank says that right away. But then still bravados him. You just bought yourself a box of trouble, chief. And he's got no fucking arm, so obviously he's gonna lose. But
even the way he's drawn, like throwing his first punch, it's just pathetic.
Yeah,
because he can't balance with the dead arm, but he still gives the old fucking ninja roll. Fucking maybe cracks a rib there. He's got a lot of guts, you know.
Yeah, well, mostly he just wants to pontificate about the fact that, like, maggots through the criminal justice merry-go-round. That's your problem.
Yeah, I love that.
Well, yeah, well, like, this is what the Punisher's about. Like, this is what you use Daredevil for, and this is what Daredevil uses Punisher for. Like, this oscillation spectrum, you know, between pure vigilantism, where you just fucking kill your enemy, and then like the liberal democratic bargain that you make, you know, that's part of the price we pay for living in a free society. Alfred Coppersmith is entitled to his day in court.
Change your ways, otherwise we'll meet up somewhere down the line. Fine with me.
I don't love a purely, like he even says, like Frank calls him like this liberal minded thing. I feel like, and I think probably Chuck and definitely Garth kind of know this, but if you like, it's not that it's inaccurate, like it's perfectly appropriate for Frank, but I feel like it cheapens the character, or just diminishes him when there's some sort of political, like gun-toting vigilante, right-wing rhetoric to it. Frank's much more terrifying if it's impersonal and just sort of like, just has to be, well, not impersonal, but like above that sort of mentality.
Yeah, like he might have thought about it, and we'll get to this when we get to Ennis, but he's discarded all of that. That's
he's transcended it for sure.
Yeah, his hatred and eliminationism is just like he's not interested in these discussions.
He's just out to stack bodies.
Yeah. So whereas this Punisher is, I think throughout Mike Barron's run, I'm again, this is something I want to track. I do feel that there is a shift, but I maybe the shift is like the Don Daly, Chuck Dixon axis, where things are like into like full on eliminationist bullshit.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure. Mike Barron has some really interesting ideas and ways that he uses the Punisher, and he's like, but he mostly wants to enact these philosophical discussions in these early issues, and even some of the later ones. Nice. He always wants to, even if but it always leans super right.
Well, he does a nice little dip at the end there when he gives the little juxtaposition where the woman's like, "You're a creep,"
Right. Yeah.
And then you're like, "Whoa, wait a sec,"
Yeah.
maybe Frank is the fucking creep here. This is a whirlwind, I'm calling the police. Good thing I don't do this for people like her. When you get down to it, most people are creeps.
Yeah, like why that message? Like, what am I taking from this comic now?
You're the same as the creep guy?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know.
It's just everybody. Yeah. This is so Chris, you were talking about how this isn't nihilistic. I think this is like a perfect example of how it isn't nihilistic, because that's the furthest down it will go. People are creeps, whereas like nothing means anything. It won't go to that basement level. This is as far, I'm not sure if that makes any sense, but
it does to me. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there's also this weird this struck me as very odd, where like in Frank is pontificating to Daredevil, and he's fine with the situation. He's like, you know what, revolving door prison system, that guy's gonna be out on the streets in 2 weeks, and then I'll be waiting for him. But no,
I'll throw him off a fucking building.
Yeah, but if you poison aspirin bottles and hurt major corporations, those are exactly the sort of people who are gonna stay in jail, because that's how justice is stacked.
Yeah, and there was a media blitz and everything, and yeah. I think the sort of cynicism that enables the Punisher, I'm always very confused when people fuss about it's revolving door justice, and I'm like, when I know sentences maybe aren't as long as your punishing heart might like, but it's not 2 weeks, and it's not like they all have a bunch of money and super lawyers and just can get out at a whim. These people go through a fucking administrative and carceral meat grinder, and if they come out of the other end 2 years later, or 3 years later,
depends on the
crime. A long time.
They said there's people, and there was a guy in Vancouver that got arrested what did they say, 125 times in the year.
Wow.
And they just let him out. They let him out because of how their charging system works now.
Right. Well, also what kind of crimes is he doing?
Drug stuff, man. Maybe we need someone to throw him off a fucking building.
Whoever this mystery revolving door justice guy. But but it's based on those stories like that are the things that fuel.
Right. Exactly. And they're probably because the charges are probably nuisances or public fucking you're talking, or public urination. Maybe just trespassing on private property, or drugs that are decriminalized to possession, shit like that.
Mm. Getting back to, actually no, this is even the way that Punisher talks about criminals, back at the beginning. I mean, because I think we're going to move off the creep in a second, but so he's got to give his mission statement or whatever. He's like, since killers took my family from me, I've made it my job to deal with criminals. That's it. I've made it my job to deal with criminals. I fight organized crime. Like there's no like I kill mooks, I murder people. He's it's much more like I think you said it was like a Law and Order episode.
Yeah.
One of you two did.
Yeah, Chris.
It's a little more. It's a lot like these two stories are definitely like police procedurals, or single issue. I mean, obviously they're standalones, but they felt very TV. I think Mike Baron skews a little TV. He usually does like two issue stories or 3 issue stories, but then there's these one shots that punctuate.
I don't think the second one was very TV friendly.
I could see that one being like I don't know, like kung fu sort of thing, or in that vein.
Yeah, maybe we also don't remember. We don't maybe remember what TV used to be like that. I know like Wils's art couldn't be projected onto TV. Like this is some wild shit. But it's still small screen. Maybe that's what I mean. Like it feels small screen rather than big screen. Like Dolph Lundgren is not in this movie.
No, Dolph Lundgren is in this B movie.
All right, so Punisher number 11, Second Sight. This one, I was like, I did not expect this when I first read it.
Oh yeah,
like
you like this one, Chris?
Yeah, very much so.
Like, what the fuck? And this is when I was like, okay, Mike Baron. There's 2 things that made me think that Mike Baron was more interesting than I had given him credit. One thing we didn't talk about, there's a reference in issue number 10 in The Creep where Frank's like, I'm going to go home and read my novel, Mike Olden, Poe Must Die. And I was like, what the fuck is that? So I looked it up, and it's about it's a story about how Satan is threatening a planet, but only Edgar Allan Poe has the imagination to stop him or something like that. Like this, it's like this fantasy sort of gothic. I don't know. I've never read it, but it sounds really interesting. It's like this apocalyptic scenario where Edgar Allan Poe like defeats Satan or something. And then there was this story, which is just like a full-on examination of the ideology of the Punisher and kind of like an alternative, like here's how Punisher could think about things, but he chooses not to. Like it's a very psychedelic in the proper sense, or maybe even leftist kind of approach, but it's treated, I don't want to say with respect, but it's given like a voice, like a proper voice, and Frank has to confront it and decide what he's going to do. Like I'm not sure it fully works as that, but I don't know. I was like, okay, this guy's at work here, this Mike Baron fella. Would you, Chris, what I don't want to say what you liked about it because I can guess, but what did you like about it?
I like that this Frank seems really unhinged in this one, like kind of like in a way that you don't normally expect. Like he just seems unstable, right. And like we'll get into it, I'm sure, but it's a very weird Frank. And of course there's the mescaline trip. Like you gotta bring him to a spiritual place. Like there's that the Brujo, like the witch doctor guy, who's like it's sort of like a version of Frank who's transcended all like the desire for hate, and like he's trying to give him this like lesson about how like we don't look at this. I'm not saying you shouldn't kill these men, but like don't narrow your perspective. Don't be defined by it. It was just a weird like taking on the foundational myth of the Punisher in this very strange way.
Yeah. And and like it just in this one-off story, like no one's ever gonna come back to this. This doesn't affect the character going forward. It's just like that's what kind of makes it feel like TV, because essentially everything's reset at the end. And tune in next week for another Punisher adventure. Even though
I was like, he had a psychedelic battle against Mumra.
He like No Country for Old Men.
Yeah, I really like the use of the comics code here. The red sort of flashing around the rapers. He's about to go to work. He's got the rip going on, and then Frank's out the knife. They put the shine on the knife just to let you know it's going to get used. It gets used. Lord, that guy's dead. But
actually, it gets used earlier. Like, go back.
Oh yeah, that's right. This guy's throat gets slit. Blood sprays straight to the skies.
Yeah.
Frank's just out here doing like grimy wet work. He could have just shot these guys. Guess he didn't want to alert anybody.
Yeah,
until the last guy. Last guy drew faster than him and still got capped. Did you notice that too?
Yeah. Yeah, this Frank. I mean, okay, yeah. Like the way this is. You're right about the comics code. Like there's something about all of this violence that even though like when you stop and look at what you're seeing, you're like, wow, that's quite excessive. It's all displayed in this really like sedate way somehow. Like the rape scenes don't have menace. Like these men don't look like they're about like it's, you see this woman being like her shirt's being ripped at and like they're reaching for her, but like there's nothing like lust or disgusting. Like there's nothing disgusting about the scene, but it's gives you all the like the symbol of, you know, like here's what's going to happen. And that just sort of happens throughout.
Also, I don't know if you guys noticed, but like Roberto, he like sits there on the ground and like bleeds out.
No.
Well, which one's Roberto here? I'm trying to.
He's the guy in the green shirt that gets it.
Okay.
He's the one that ripped her shirt.
Oh
so he
yeah,
gets
I'm looking.
The knife to the neck, and then he just sits there and probably just like gurgles. Like,
holy Roberto!
Oh, Roberto, help us! And then fucking Buddy gets capped 3 times straight in the chest, and then Roberto finally keels over from his horrific knife wound to the throat.
Yeah, it's fucking dark.
Yeah.
Nice.
And you know, as we're talking about how muted it is.
Yeah. Well, that's
it's
it. Like,
true though. It's so lipstick. And then he's like, I'm going to need my ooze to deal with this many Mexicans.
So the whole time this is going on like that, like, okay, so it starts off, he's like, okay, human traffickers, they left some people. I'm in Mexico now. And he just like passes out in the heat with buzzards around him all of a sudden. It's like he descends into death. Like there's an immediate disorientation to the story as an immediate sort of like, is this a dream kind of situation, which isn't really played up very well. It's played up with the psychedelia, but it doesn't end as like he wakes up or anything. But I just thought that was so weird. Like, yeah, I think Chris, you already talked about this. Like I sleep, gets sleepy, passes out, something's happening.
Yeah, it's true. And then later, like during the firefight with the Uzi, his eyes get like, he gets like some little shrapnel or whatever in his eyes, like dust from the rocks or whatever, and he can't see. It's funny, and then his like vision's like taken from him, and it still continues to be like sort of a psychedelic trip, like it's almost like not happening or it's like a dream.
Yeah, well, and he's like, one thing about Mike Baron that I've noticed is he really likes pretty banal wordplay. I think this is his best one. Like, now she's my second sight. So she's sort of like, it has 2 meanings, right? You know, like the spiritual sight and the and literally someone who sees for him. And you saw that in The Creep too, a little bit, like just like the I don't know if it's wordplay, but he loves the repetition of words, and he likes to
like a thematic repetition.
Yeah. And you'll see that. I'm starting to see that in like a lot of his work, and I suspect I'm going to see more of it going forward. And I'll be kind of sad to see it go, because it's just something a really like fun tick for the writer of The Punisher to just really like. But you know, maybe it's like bullets, you know. Da, 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 da.
Speaking of sight, I like this. This is so weird, like where he sees the girl, and instantly Maria, she reminds me of Maria, but like she looks nothing like his wife. Like there's just
it's very
very telling that it's like so a woman who's just in danger, like whatever, maybe even just inciting that rage to like punish like criminals, like
Right.
that's the connection maybe.
Yeah, that's cool to think of it that way.
Well, go ahead.
No. I lost it there.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's my fault.
No.
Yeah, but later on he's going to comment on the fact that like it doesn't look anything like her, like it's. But I think you're right, Chris.
Go ahead.
Oh, I think there's something there. Like, and I think James feels maybe the same. Is that just the fact that a woman in trouble reminds him of Maria, like, or a child in trouble or whatever. Like these early comics are actually trying to play through the origin story of the Punisher and still trying to like get some work out of it and see like what motivates this character.
It hasn't become totally cynical to the idea that Frank kind of uses his family as a prop for this like greater mission, which I like Dixon and Innes definitely delve into.
Well, yeah, and I think that they these almost feel like year one style stories.
Yes, very true.
Like that he's brand new, the Punisher. Like he's still sort of like relying on military background and like black ops tactics, and his excuse is not clear in his own head even. Also, like if they were human trafficking, he only saved one woman. They didn't do good here.
That's true.
No. I don't think he was trying to save this. He was just wanting to murder these guys for having.
He wasn't trying to save anybody.
Yeah, well, they left the truck in the ravine. They left the truck in the ravine with the Mexicans inside. The contact never showed, and the men died of dehydration. Men, women, and children. It's the fact that families were killed. Yeah. It's to the credit of, I don't know if it's to the credit of Mike, but like he gets upset about Mexican deaths too. Right, in this early version of the Punisher, like I don't know if we're going to get that sort of like broader humanitarian concern out of later versions of the Punisher from the 90s.
That's a good point.
Or even from Mike Barron later on. Like I don't. He's gone down the weird hole, like many people of that generation have gone.
He's a bit. White supremacist from what I'm just doing some cursory scans.
Oh no!
Yeah.
Oh well, he's gotten old.
Yeah. This sorry, before we move on, and going back to the idea of like this woman sort of like looking like his way. I just found the word choice very interesting here. I feel like this must be like maybe an editorial error actually, but this girl looks nothing like my ex-wife. Like, what a weird thing to say. Like, your wife died. She's not your ex. Like, she didn't choose to leave you. Like, there's.
Oh yeah. Well, okay. So there's. Okay.
No,
so yeah.
But she did now.
Oh yeah. We should talk about that a little bit. You're right. This is like okay. So what are your options to in that caption though? This girl looks nothing like my dead wife. It was the light. I guess that's
or like
what
something like Maria. Like even like.
Yeah. You're right. Like my ex-wife. Well, yeah. I don't know what to read into that.
Yeah.
Other than
I'd probably edit her, but.
Yeah. Goddamn.
Why did he choose to go on a spirit fucking quest here, like Mike Barron? Like drink this mezcal. Do you have a calling, Pepe? Yeah, I'm a fucking wizard. Like, I don't. What's he barbecuing there too? There's no fucking chickens out there.
Well, the whole thing, like, he ends up on this, like, the dreamlike quality of it. Like, even before they end up going on a psychedelic journey, he's. Well, actually, no. I guess he drinks the drink and then he discovers where he is. But they're just like on this like this mountain that has a plateau on the top, where you're like, how did you even get up here? Like.
Yeah.
We have our
horse, my faithful donkey.
Yeah. You're like, well, I don't see how that worked. Looking at this mountain, right? Everything about it is unreal.
Yeah. Is that a baby buzzard, maybe? I want the trailer to see very bad men,
like
some
a
bad
porg?
hombres. I like that, where he's like, yeah, you're suspicious. Forgive me. My business makes me suspicious. I want to trail some very bad men. Yeah, it's like he's just, it's very frank, you know? It's like he's not trusting the situation. Even though he's got some free barbecue and some mezcal.
So just fucking drink up.
Yeah.
That's what I do. I punish criminals. You know you don't.
He even
buddy.
justifies that, like, I'm not going anywhere, so may as well have a rip on this mezcal.
Yeah. Burns through me like liquid plumber.
That's so fucking gross. Like, I feel that when I read it.
So, yeah. So they get down to talking, and like, yeah, like you're saying, Chris, this Pepe guy, he reveals that he was 12. Government troops shot my father. He was with Geraldo, the land reformers, and I believe that's a reference to the Mexican Revolution. So even this is like tinged with a sort of politics that could be unearthed. You know, like I was killed by revolutionary forces. They took my family. Like, that's very different than criminals. Like, it just, you know, like, it associates criminality with revolutionary force. Mind you, I don't know fuck all about the Mexican Revolution, so maybe those guys were fucking assholes, and there's actually something there. But
now he's above it. He's like cuddling a snake, and we're all in this path together, whether we know it or not. And he feeds this little snake a mouse, which is sort of like, I don't know, making peace with. Is the Punisher the snake? I think the Punisher's the snake.
I think the Punisher's the snake now that I'm looking at it. And the mouse is the vermin, and there's a cosmic harmony to, like, this ends up being like a massive apology for the Punisher's exterminationist ideology. Like, it's just like, this is just part of nature. Like, Frank's normal.
Yeah, true. The cycle of life. You know, you need to have a Punisher.
Yeah. Someone to eat the vermin. You know, they have their place too. You're like, I don't think anyone learned a lesson here.
And then you can see the vermin, bam, 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 just like hollow ghost shells just shooting up families. And then that equals the birth of your natural snake. And then, away we go.
Maria, Barbara, Frankie.
And then just like every woman in danger is fucking Maria, and Frank's just out to lunch.
I fucking love this imagery though. Like, this puts Batman's origin to shame. The way this is illustrated, it's so fucking amazing. Like, the way he's lounging out at the park. Like, this is one thing I've always had trouble in with reconciling in my mind. And like, one of the things that Jason Aaron's run and Grobnik or whatever, like that Punisher base thing. It's just like, I've always had trouble reconciling like Happy Frank and, you know, Happy Family Man Frank and the Frank, like the Frank that is a fucking monster. You know, they don't seem compatible in this era though. They seem a little more compatible because Frank's a little softer, and you, James, you kind of referred to it as year one. You could see that maybe he came out of that space, but
these last 4 panels of the Frank Castle died, the Punisher was born, and it's just like glowing red skull.
So I just go after the big fish.
Yeah, which isn't even true. You're like just hunting some like. You're hunting
you almost threw a creep off a building just yesterday.
No. Yeah, but anyway, it's fucking great though. Like, one of the things that happens after Carl Potts leaves the Punisher is like the art takes a deep shit, just a squatting down and just letting it out. Carl knew what comics needed to be, and like he pulled in Will Spartaccio. Like the Punisher became like a feeding ground for everyone who was going to take over X-Men eventually. Like some of the, like all those Wildstorm guys, they all they all came together on the Punisher, and Carl Potts was like, yeah, man, come on over, guys. Like, you guys are hot. Let's do it. And nobody else was like, Jim Lee was working on Alpha Flight prior to this. Not to this, but he's going to do, Yeah, he's going to do some Punisher later on. That's where he's going to, like, pre-X-Men Jim Lee gets big on the Punisher.
Well, Wills is a special treat here in the Punisher for me. This is great.
Yeah.
Like, I really like this.
Yeah.
Maria. That was my wife's name. The last panel.
I think that Mike Baron, he's obviously done. I do think that he's probably done the drugs. You know, we've got to get out of here right now. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? We've got to get out of here right now.
I love it.
Yeah, this one was a real trip. This issue.
I love how sick this old guy is. Just like pulls out this like antique cannon. It's got a nice mix of nails and gravel. A very nice mix.
Oh, I should have forgotten about that.
What?
You know, I just, you know, like, honestly, like, I know probably I would be disappointed with myself, but I'd also be a little proud of myself if I ever wrote this script. I just feel like
Absolutely.
good for me. Good for me.
This is a pat on the back.
Yeah. Do you think I don't know my own wife? Yeah. And so, like, he's having this. So they're getting surrounded by Mexican human traffickers. He's very upset about this. And he like, Maria, behind me, it's my wife, you know, and like his spirit is guiding him. And he aims the cannon and blows up all the criminals, you know.
We're like flanking them. You know, because they're stalling for time. They're like, oh, I think Frank's plan is like to pretend that there's gold up there and like let's negotiate as he's about to unload the cannon. But the criminals are smart and they've come around the hidden path up the mountain.
Right. Yeah,
Maria
none of this
shows them.
Yeah, none of this adds up to anything. Like, that's the most frustrating part is like you feel like there's got to be some sort of like deeper, like, I don't know, allegory or something, like some sort of psychopomp, but not really. This time they all die. Like, is this Mike Baron's attempt to replace Mexicans with the mobsters that killed his family? Like, is this like the even though, like, yeah, like this ostensibly this story is sort of like the Punisher is kind of sick in the head, but it's just like at the same time it's an apology for the Punisher and it's a replacement of the mobsters that killed his family with like Mexican traffickers. And so maybe I'm giving Mike Baron too much credit in thinking
it feels a lot like a one shot though, is the only thing.
Well, sometimes you establish like a lot of writers will establish the philosophy of a book in these one shots, in these like these deep dives into the character, and then that spirit that's established in these deep dives will, you know, that's the spirit which propels the series forward. You know, like people always think about these character moments more than they'll think about the last fight against Magneto or something.
I think you're absolutely right too, because like he comes through this like having confronted the past, and then like he opens fire on these guys, and there's the one surviving guy. He's like, I need to know your name before I blow you away, and then he says, I am the Punisher. So like it's like it is sort of like he's purified himself. He's like all that confusion, like maybe from this point on, is put to rest, and he can be purely the Punisher.
I'm fucking excited to read the reissue after this, Castle Technique. Oh, and he fights a bunch of, oh my goodness, it's it has NAM microchips in there. Yeah, this is full on Punisher action. Yeah, anyway, I'm excited to read it with that in mind.
We got a tear. The final image is a little Punisher tear.
Yeah.
When do we see that?
Yeah. He's you know, what's your name? Maria. Like, yeah. Yeah, he's fucked. He just came out like, well, normally psychedelic experiences will like soften an individual and teach them something, but yeah, I think like this version of Frank is born of the psychedelic experience.
Oh, it hardened him.
Yeah, fucking cool. That's a very interesting like angle, like, and so it is the right-wing version of the psychedelia story, you know, like, and
so true.
It's fucking awesome.
Now, all we need is a little energon and a lot of luck.